All right, let's talk about something you're probably wearing right now, your t-shirt. Have you ever really stopped to think about how it got to you? I mean, its journey is this huge global story, all run by a kind of hidden system we call the supply chain. And today, we are going to map that system out. Seriously, think about it for a second. Yeah, you bought it from a store, but who made the fabric? Where did the actual cotton come from? Every single one of those steps is a link in this massive and honestly mostly invisible chain. The thing is, it's not some nice, neat, straight line. Not at all. The reality is, it's this incredibly complex global maze, just a tangle of companies, materials, and logistics. It's wild. So you've got to wonder, right? How does anyone manage all this chaos? Well, to make sense of all that craziness, businesses have this really powerful but actually surprisingly simple concept they use to bring some order to it all, and it's called supply chain tiering. So what exactly is it? Okay, to put it simply, tiering is just a way of mapping out all your suppliers. You're basically organizing them into different levels or, tiers based on how directly they connect with your company. That's it. All right, let's really break this down. Your Tier 1 suppliers, those are the folks you deal with directly. They deliver straight to your door. But where do they get their stuff? From Tier 2 suppliers. And the Tier 2 guys, they're getting their raw materials from Tier 3 suppliers. And you can see how this chain can just keep going and going further and further back. Look, it all boils down to one simple rule. The lower the tier number, the closer that supplier is to you. Easy, right? So Tier 1, that's your direct partner. But your Tier 3 supplier? Man, that could be a company you've never even heard of, and yet your entire business might totally depend on them. Kind of scary when you think about it. Okay, let's make this super concrete. We're going to take a real-world example from right here in Pakistan, from the world-famous textile industry. Let's trace a single shirt, starting from a cotton farm, and follow it all the way to the global market. So our journey kicks off at Tier 3. This is the absolute beginning of the chain. I want you to picture a cotton farmer in Multan. It could be one person or a small family farm, and they're the ones growing and harvesting the raw cotton that eventually is going to become our shirt. I mean, this is the very foundation of the whole thing. Okay, so from that farm, the raw cotton gets sold to our Tier 2 supplier. Let's say it's a fabric manufacturer down in Karachi. Now, this is where the magic happens, right? This is where that raw material gets completely transformed. It's processed, spun, woven, and it becomes finished cloth. And finally, that roll of cloth gets sent to a garment exporter, maybe in Faisalabad. This is our Tier 1 supplier. They're the ones doing the final assembly, actually stitching the shirt. And, this is key, they're the ones who deal directly with the big international retail brand. In fact, that global brand might only ever speak to this one company in the entire chain. And hey, this whole concept isn't just for t-shirts, not by a long shot. You see the exact same tiered structure in huge industries, like the Pak Suzuki automotive supply chain. Think about it, from petrochemical plants way back at Tier 3 to the companies making plastic parts at Tier 2, all the way up to the final car rolling off the assembly line. So, okay, tiering brings order from chaos. It helps with efficiency. On the surface, it seems like a pretty great system, right? But, like with pretty much anything in business, there's another side to the story. There are some major benefits, for sure, but also some very, very serious risks you've got to think about. So on the plus side, tiering definitely helps companies manage their most important relationships and just makes things more efficient. But the downside, it's a big one. You have less and less visibility the further you go down the chain. You just can't see what's happening. And why is that? Well, because you don't have direct contracts with those Tier 2 or 3 suppliers. A lot of work gets subcontracted out, and that creates these massive blind spots, hiding all sorts of risks. Everything from quality control problems to a single point of failure that could literally shut down your entire operation. And listen, this isn't just some textbook theory. This is the real world. Just look at what happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. You had Pakistani garment exporters, the Tier 1s, remember, completely brought to a standstill. And you know why? Because their Tier 2 fabric suppliers over in China were shut down. They just couldn't deliver. Think about that. A problem that was 2 whole steps away caused a total, complete disruption. So let's bring this back to you. What does all of this actually mean for your career? Well, if you're a student in Pakistan and you're thinking about a future in business,
I'm telling you, understanding supply chain tiering, it's not just useful, it is absolutely essential.
Look, understanding this stuff is your key to seeing how global and local industries are really connected. I'm talking about the big employers in Pakistan. Companies like Engro, Unilever, and Fauji Fertilizer. They live and breathe this every single day. They're looking for graduates who can look at these complex supplier networks, who can spot the hidden risks, and who can help them build stronger, more resilient supply chains for Pakistan's future. You could be the one tasked with mapping out all the Tier 2 suppliers to figure out where the dangers are, or auditing a brand new Tier 1 partner to make sure their quality is up to snuff.
So there you have it. We've mapped out the whole chain, right? From a cotton field all the way to the global marketplace. And that's the real power of tiering. You see, it gives you the map. So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. Now that you can see the entire chain laid out, where do you think its weakest link is hiding?